Hey guys, we finally reached the lesson on materials. In my opinion, materials play a very big role in giving your renders that level of detail, where the image can be experienced as an actual visualization of your project. The textures, the reflections, the bumps, it all adds up to the final image. Did you know every geometry in your project essentially represents a material? It's true! If you would just know how to work with materials, you would basically master Enscape. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do, help you master Enscape. Let's dive in!
Any material in Enscape is coming from the CAD side. That means to be able to even start working on materials, you need to first apply a material on a surface inside your CAD. Now this doesn't have to be a final material, and you don't have to worry about how it looks initially. This could very well be a placeholder material. The reason this is important is that once you apply a material, only then it will be visible in the Enscape Material Editor, where you can further edit that material. Let me give you an example. So I created a new material in my CAD and applied it to my 3D model, or I applied an existing material to a surface in my 3D model. Now when I open the Enscape Material Editor, I can see that material in the list of materials. I can now click on it and see all the settings available for me to work further on that material. Now before we move on to editing materials, let me show you the Enscape Material Library. Some users like to start directly with this, and I must say it's very useful for fast-paced projects. So once you open the library window, you see a list of some amazing PBR materials. Now if you want to use them from scratch, choose a few and click Import Selected. It's going to push them back to your CAD materials library and you can apply them to your 3D model. They have bumps, roughness, reflections, and all other settings already applied to make it super easy for you. Just choose a category, bring them in, and start applying. You also have the option to add them to your favorites list in case you want to find them quickly. Now say we applied a lot of materials to our model. Some are placeholders, and some are taken from the Enscape Material Library, and some created in the CAD directly. Now to work further on these materials, I will open the Enscape Material Editor. As the name suggests, it helps you edit the materials. Here is a list of all the materials that are applied to a surface in your model. Once again, before I move to actual editing functions, I would like to show you the Quick Replace feature. So for example, I applied this color to my surface as a placeholder, and now I want to apply a realistic material, but I don't have the time to create something, and I am also not sure what's going to look good. I can quickly hover over the material name, and click on these three dots to open up a menu. Now I can select Replace with Enscape Materials. Remember the materials we saw in the Enscape Material Library? It's the same list. However, the amazing part comes now. In the Replace mode, you can preview those materials applied on your model before you actually choose them. So I can keep clicking on these materials until I find one that looks absolutely right for my surface. Isn't that crazy? I just love it! Saves me tons of time creating the right material if I find the closest one. Imagine all my materials are placeholders, and I have to show something conceptual to a client. Well, I can simply replace all the placeholders with Enscape Materials in seconds. Enscape Material Editor has certain types that can define materials. Most commonly used is the generic material. However, there are others as well. For example, if it's carpet or grass, the material will have carpet or grass blades added to them. And the height for these can be controlled as well. If it's water, it will change into water texture and have animated waves added to it. And then there's foliage and clear coat types. One special mention should be the self-illuminated material. It is a material that illuminates. Don't use it as a light source. You will come up with a lot of issues. The reason is simply that it is meant to illuminate the surface, not the surroundings. It can be used for a TV screen, a billboard, or something similar. The glass type material is used for glass. This is quite a new addition to the Enscape types, and it is amazing if you have textured or stained glass. You can add a texture to this material type and create some amazing glass designs for your projects. Now, as we just checked out, material types need to be defined. This is where material names and keywords play an important role. For example, if my window material is named blue glass inside CAD, the keyword glass will change the material type in Enscape automatically to glass. If it is named pond water, water is the keyword here. So there are some very common keywords. If these words are added to the material names when these materials are created in your CAD, the types can automatically be defined by Enscape. You can find these keywords on the Enscape knowledge base. Finally, we reach that part of the lesson where I can show you how to actually edit a material. Once you understand all the different settings available for each material in the Enscape Material Editor, you will be using it every day. Once you select a material, you see a list of settings. The first one is the albedo. This is where you can add the basic texture. Right now, this texture might be coming from the CAD or by replacing an Enscape material. If you remove this texture and click on the folder icon, you can manually choose a texture for your project. The image fade slider has color on one side and image on the other. 100% means you are seeing the texture fully applied. Once you move it even a tiny bit towards the left, the color drop-down becomes active. You can define the color here, and the left end will now be that color. So if you move to the left, you will see more of color and less of texture, and if you keep on right, you will see more of texture and less of color. We also have the tint color option. I would normally just use the tint unless I need a mix of texture and color. Now before we move on, let me make this clear. The albedo image is flat. It will not give your material the realistic look you are looking for. It is the base texture only. To make the material look realistic, we need to add a height map. There are 3 different types, and you can choose whichever works best for your material. It could be a bump, normal, or displacement map. Like in the section above, you have this folder icon. You can click it and add your own maps. If I have a brick texture and I add a displacement map for bricks, I can control how visible the displacement should be. The transformation is real-time and very easy to control. You can really bring that realism to your materials immediately. If you have a tiled texture, changing the normal map intensity will give more or less depth to the tiling grooves. In cases where you don't have a height map, you have the option to use the albedo texture as the height map as well. This doesn't always work, and you might need to be a bit careful when to really use that. Reflections can also be defined by image. However, I normally prefer to use the sliders when I create my own material. Roughness defines the reflective properties of a surface. So the more rough a surface is, the less reflective it is, and vice versa. Metallic surfaces can be compared to a mirror-like look. The more metallic it is, the more it will reflect the surroundings like a metal or a looking glass. And specular has to do with how the light bounces on the surface. So it really depends on what material we are talking about. Transparency can be used for many things. I can give you the example of a curtain fabric. You can choose a type of transparency and then upload a texture for that fabric. A cutout transparency requires a black and white image where all blacks are cut out of the surface the image is applied on. A transmittance type makes the complete surface semi-transparent and you can see through the surface while the texture is visible as well. So in the case of a curtain, you can see the texture and you can see through it as well, giving you the impression of a see-through fabric. Let's talk about scaling and rotating a texture. While texture positioning is done directly in your CAD, you can scale your texture by clicking on the texture icon in the Material Editor. You will view the texture close up and under Explicit Texture Transformation. You can redefine the scale of the texture, as well as the rotation. By default, all other maps use the albedo texture values, which makes sense, but if for some reason you want to add a different scale for each, you can do that by unchecking this box for each of the layers you have added. I am not sure of the use case here where the scales might differ. If you know it, please write it in the comments. One more thing to note though, Enscape is saving all these textures somewhere in your default system folders. This is quite okay if you are not working on shared projects or in an office. However, if you are sharing projects with people, they will need access to these texture files as well. In this case, Enscape allows you to define a shared location for your materials. I normally use a shared Google Drive location for my projects and the textures. It's super easy. Just go to the settings icon in the Material Library or the Material Editor. They both have it. And just define the path to your shared folder, server, or drive. And you are set to go. Please remember, this path needs to be defined before a material has been added to a project. And it is defined for all projects. It can't be just one. You can change this whenever you start a new project, but if you open a previous one and the path has been changed, you won't be able to open textures for that project. So ideally, you should set this up once before you start using Enscape in a shared environment. If you are not working in a shared project environment, but you still have to share the project manually with someone, maybe an email or on a USB or a compressed folder, how should you share the textures in this case? Well, with every material, you have the option to export it using the 3 dots option you see when you hover over in the editor. The export part is individual. You have to export each material package individually. However, the cool part is you can import all material packages at once using the batch import feature. So once you export, share the project with the exported material packages. Whoever receives your project can then open it and batch import the materials before working on the project. The orange mark basically represents any new material added to the Material Editor, in case you are wondering. Well, that was it for materials, guys. If I missed something, let me know in the comments. And if you liked the video, don't be shy, give it a thumbs up. See you in the next lesson.